Adequate notice of the July 10th, 2025 regular meeting of the Township Committee has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on a bulletin board in the Municipal Building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice to the following newspapers: Morris County Daily Record, the Star Ledger, Hanover Eagle, and by filing the same with the Township Clerk.
Roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Here.
Committeeman Faramasca.
Here.
Committeeman Francioli.
Here.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Here.
Mayor Gallagher.
Here.
5 members in attendance.
If you would, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for our prayer led by Deputy Mayor Mike Mahalko. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, please watch over and guide this governing body with abundance of wisdom and understanding to help make the best decisions for our residents. Please bless our first responders and township volunteers who help keep us all safe. Also bless our township employees and residents. Lastly, please let us pray for the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces who stand vigil over us always. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege and honor this evening to recognize the 100th anniversary of Notre Dame of Mount Carmel Roman Catholic Church. And this is a great honor for us. And at this time, Committeeman Faramasca will read into the record a plaque that will be presented to the congregation, not only tonight, but also at a special event on Saturday.
Thank you, Joe. This is a Golden Jubilee Award. It's presented to Notre Dame of Mount Carmel Roman Catholic Church in thanksgiving and celebration of Notre Dame's centennial anniversary, 1925 to 2025 and counting. The foundation stone of its congregation, with a rich history that continues to serve as a beacon of faith, love, hope, and inspiration to its parishioners and in service to God's ministries. From the Township of Committee, Township Mayor, Hanover Township, Ace Gallagher, Township of Hanover, July 12th, 2025.
Very good. Very nice.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Father Vidal, along with members of the parish, to come up and accept this prestigious award. And please, members of the governing body, please join us in terms of the celebration.
Want to be up front? What do you want to do? Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a caption.
Why don't you get in the... No, I don't. Very nice. Very nice. See you later.
Thank you. Good to see you. Do they want to say anything? It's my church and I wasn't even there.
Very nice.
I thought it was going to be Saturday. Just want to get the intro. I think it's otherwise.
Well, they're giving us Township Committee a commemorative book for the 100th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father.
Very good.
Did you want to say anything?
What do you want to say?
You could go to the microphone, thank you. I'm going to start the timer.
Kristen, start the timer.
Well, thank you so much to Mayor Thomas A. Gallagher and to the members of the council. On behalf of the entire parish community of Notre Dame Mount Carmel, I wish to express our heartfelt gratitude for the beautiful plaque you presented in honor of our centennial celebration. We would be honored to welcome you to our centennial mass, followed by a time of fellowship and refreshment this coming Saturday at 5 p.m. Your presence would truly bless our celebration as we give thanks for the past and look forward with hope to the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if everyone that was here for that celebration would like to leave, we'd understand, but if you want to hang around and listen to us conduct our business, we'd love to have you. Thank you, everybody.
Don't feel guilty. Thank you.
Thank you.
So cute. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First on the agenda, we have a letter of resignation from Dial-A-Ride driver Pete Torello, effective July 14th, 2025. May I please have a motion to accept his letter of resignation?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the approval of the Township Committee meeting minutes of June 12th, 2025, and also of June 26th, 2025. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Next is the public hearing and adoption of ordinance numbers 19-2025 and 20-2025. I'd like to state for the record that the Township Committee has decided to table ordinance 20-2025 until the August 14th meeting. May I please have a motion to carry ordinance 2025 to the August 14th meeting?
So moved.
Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Faramasca.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
Okay, motion to carry until the August 14th meeting at 8 p.m. Next, the public hearing of ordinance 19-2025. Proof of publication that ordinance 19-2025 and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the June 18th issue of the Daily Record. At this time, may I please have a motion to convene the public hearing on ordinance number 19-2025?
So moved?
Second.
Is anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance 19-2025? If so, please state your name and address for the record, and you can speak at the podium.
Motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now on adoption of ordinance 19-2025. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 19-2025?
Motion.
Second?
On roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
Ordinance number 19, 2025, so adopted. Next on the agenda is the introduction of ordinance number 21-2025 and ordinance number 22-2025. I'd like to read the title of each of these ordinances into the record. Ordinance 21-2025, an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing the resurfacing of a portion of Horse Hill Road from its intersection with East Hanover Avenue, County Road 650, to a point 275 feet south of Saddle Road, and further authorizing the appropriation of $125,000 from the unallocated portion of the 2025 Capital Improvement Fund and for all prior years for the financing of this improvement. Ordinance 22-2025 is an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover authorizing the execution of a lease agreement with the Hanover Tigers Youth Football and Cheerleading in operating the B Meadow Park Brickyard Concession Facility retroactive to August 1st, 2025 through November 15th, 2025 during the football season. I'd like to state for the record that both ordinances and the respective notices of introduction will be published in full in the Daily Record in accordance with law. The public hearing is scheduled for August 10th, 2025 at 8 p.m. If any member of the public...
August 14th, Kristen.
I'm sorry, August 14th, thank you for that, at 8 p.m. If there's any member of the public that would like to be heard during those ordinances, they will be given the opportunity to do so that evening. May I now have a motion to introduce ordinances number 21 and 22?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, on roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Yes.
Committeeman Farah.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Hooray on Horse Hill, yes.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher.
Aye.
So introduced. Our next order of business is the approval of our resolutions as a consent agenda. Any questions regarding any of these resolutions? May I have a motion then to approve these resolutions as a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
May I
Oh,
just...
sure.
May I just make a statement about the last two resolutions, and that's part of the motion, correct,
Yes, sir.
Kristen?
Sure.
164 and 165. 164, 2025 is for special counsel. Mr. Goldstein, one of the things, the mayor had a special meeting, an informal meeting with the public, and there was some comments that the administration took back and took into consideration. And one of them was to maybe consider having special counsel with respect to the hotel ordinance. It's being challenged in federal district court. We looked at some names to put together what we would call the dream team, right? We have Eric Harrison representing the township, and this resolution also authorizes Jonathan Goldstein, who's a very experienced litigator, to also participate along with our office to address and defend the hotel ordinance, which, as I said, is right in federal district court. We received a request to put a stay on the ordinance and its enforcement, and that's the first order of business that's been directed. It has not been stayed, by the way, but nonetheless, that resolution is on the agenda for the governing body's consideration. And then the last resolution was something the governing body wanted me to mention. That's to designate, what would be affirmed, a redevelopment designation is made by the planning board. And in this case, the planning board last year made a determination that the former H2O site meets the criteria for an area in need of redevelopment. And so the resolution has been added to the agenda tonight for the sole purpose of the concerns and what's in the resolution, the outreach expressed by the Township Committee and the residents as to the condition of that property. This is a legal mechanism to give the governing body more options, including, but not limited to, the right of condemnation if things don't go in the direction that the governing body wishes it to go, and that is an expeditious cleanup of the site and takedown of the buildings. The designation for redevelopment this evening does not give the property owner any other rights of zoning, pilots, whatever you want to call it, there's no additional rights. It's to complete this designation so that the governing body has the requisite tools, if necessary, to move ahead in an expeditious manner to address the condition of the site. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for a great explanation.
So may I have a motion to approve the resolutions as a consent agenda?
So moved.
Just do it again.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. And lastly, we have to pay our bills in the amount of $9,964,363.23. May I have a motion, John, to pay our bills?
Sylvia, will you pay the bills? Come on.
May I have a second?
Second.
Bills can be paid. Mayor and the members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda, and I thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Krista. Before I open to the public, I would just like to state, we have a lot of people here, we want to hear from anybody that would like to address us. So what we're going to do is, we do have a 4-minute policy, and what we'd like to do is listen to as many people as possible, and then address the concerns at the end of each person getting to speak. So if anyone would like to, can I have a motion open to the public? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So if anyone would like to address the governing body, please go up to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 4 minutes. Thank you.
Fern Wolcott, Cedar Knolls. I appreciate what the attorney just said, and I understand it, so I feel a little bit better, but I still do have some questions, if you can address them. I remember back when we had meetings about what was going to get built there. I live basically across the street and over the trees, but I can see H2O from my bedroom. So I had concerns at that time, which I thought were being addressed, which had to do with, they were building the assisted living facility, we were concerned about lighting and so forth. I know that's not happening anymore, but now I have concerns over, and I wasn't against that. To me, that's better than an apartment building, better than a shopping mall, so I was fine with it. But now that's not happening, so now I have the same concerns I had before, which is what is going to be built there. And I guess you probably don't know yet, but I just want you to know, I guess, that the residents across the street are concerned. I don't have a problem with housing. I don't have a problem with a lot of things, as long as they are low and not, lit to the degree where it impinges on the people who live across the street. So that's basically all I wanted to say, to make you guys aware. I am sure you are aware, but just wanted to put it out there. That's why I came tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Fern. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Gail Hansen, and I live in Cedar Knolls, not far from that other lady. And my concern is the corner property on Ridgedale and Malportis. I heard talk that they were going to put condominiums. Is there any plans for development?
Are you talking about the H2 Ocean property?
No, across the street, next to Progressive, the corner of Ridgedale and Malportis.
The property...
Across from the cemetery, on the corner.
Oh.
Malportis.
Right. It's a triangular piece of property.
Is at the end of her statement?
Right.
And then when it's at the end.
Yeah, we will, to be honest with you, we will address any questions, but as far as I'm concerned, I find out a lot of different things that we haven't discussed yet. I haven't heard anything about that personally yet, no.
Okay, because it is considered wetlands, that was my concern. All right.
But to be honest with you, we do hear a lot of things. Like, I heard about 2 different properties this
Right.
week that were going to be developed that we actually haven't talked about at all.
Okay.
But we will check with Jerry and Blaze and Fred and see if anything's come across, but I haven't heard anything. We haven't discussed it at all.
Because we back up to that property and it would be a water issue.
We know that area is wet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, Marge Katushin on Boulevard Road. We live right behind H2 Ocean. Considering that they found a dead body in the house next door there, is that all going to be raised? Is it all going to be knocked down? You know, we're right behind there. There's a little bit of woods that is owned by the cemetery. Sometimes we see people in the woods, and someone has placed what looks like a campground in that piece of woods. I don't know if it's kids doing that, or we haven't seen any vagrants, if you will. So we wanted to see what was going to happen with that property. Also, the speed on Boulevard Road, it's atrocious. I almost got clipped in the last year, maybe 10 times. The speed, they have those little signs, little happy face if you're doing 25, but everybody does about 50 or more. It's ridiculous, us just getting out of our driveway, you take your life in your hands. So the speed on Boulevard Road is really terrible, and we wanted to address, again, you know, those vacant buildings on Ridgedale.
We will address the vacant buildings at the end of public comment, and we believe we have very, very good news for you.
Okay, good.
But we got to be very careful, but we believe we have very good news. And as far as the speeding, we've been discussing that, and Brian Cahill is liaison to public safety, and Brian hears it loud and clear, and Brian is constantly in constant touch with our chief. So thank you.
The other thing is, they've got speed humps on the side street. Why not speed humps where you can go 50 miles an hour? That might slow these people down. On the side street, on the Elm, I don't remember, Prospect, there's not even room for half a block to speed, and they got the speed humps there. I would love to see them on Boulevard Road, especially as you come around the bend, and they see the little sign with the happy face, and then they floor it, boom, and they're gone.
To be honest with you, that was part 2 of a program of the Mountain Avenue project. And we're looking at different options to make that happen quicker, but there is a full design on that, and that is part 2 of the Mountain Avenue design.
Good to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Christopher Matisich, 32 Sunset Drive in Whippany. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Hanover Township Green Team. Now, I understand that Ordinance 20-2025 was moved to August. My question is, do you want to allow more than 4 minutes so I can speak our advice on this ordinance tonight, so you have time to consider it, or am I limited to 4 minutes still?
Chris, we discussed this at length. Because we're not going to be hearing this tonight, we decided to limit you tonight to 4 minutes, but that doesn't mean you don't have access to us. We did invite you into conference, and you can come back into conference, but on August 14th, we invited you to make a 10-minute presentation to weigh in prior to any vote and change, and participate in the changes.
I'll read as much as I can then. I start off with a request. I've attended all of the Environmental Commission meetings for the last 6 years, but I do not have a seat on the Environmental Commission. I'm only on the Green Team. I was told that the roster did not have additional spaces. Considering that our group has a very good turnout, I'd like to kindly request that we expand the roster to include myself and perhaps a few other people that serve on the Green Team but don't have seats on the Environmental Commission. It's currently 10 members on Environmental, but the Green Team has 14 who all regularly attend both meetings.
That's something we can discuss.
Okay, moving on. Onto the advice portion. I believe the public needs a bit of background to understand the nature of what's going on. Hanover Township Environmental Commission and Green Team were made aware that an amendment to the Township Tree Ordinance was introduced to the governing body at the June 12, 2025 meeting. We realized this change by viewing an agenda for that meeting, which generated confusion amongst the group because we had been working with the Township Planner for several months on simplifying the existing tree ordinance. I placed several phone calls to pinpoint the origin of 20-2025, and the mayor and the deputy mayor did not introduce it. Committeeman Faramasca then explained that Township Attorney Semrau had drafted this new amendment to comply with the 2024 NJ Fair Housing Act in an effort to reduce development fees. This ordinance was approved by the Planning Board in conjunction with the Bayer redevelopment plan, which shows a possible connection between the two. The principal change to the ordinance is how lot size is used to calculate the tree replacements. The current Hanover Township ordinance applies a cap of 40 trees per acre multiplied by the landowner's entire lot size, which has been the method used for many years. Ordinance 20-2025 seeks to apply the cap of 40 trees per acre to only the area of disturbance, which drastically reduces the cap, thus reducing the tree replacement fees. The environmental advisors expressed concern that they were not consulted in relation to this change, which directly affects the environment of the township. It is also concerning that this change was introduced on June 12th and then scheduled for a vote on July 10th, today, during a period of time in which there were no environmental commission meetings scheduled. It's additionally concerning that Committeeman Fairmosca is both the director of planning and the liaison to the environmental advisory groups, which means he participated in discussions with Attorney Semrau and the township planner on this, but failed to inform the environmental advisors of this change. We feel that as our liaison, he should have been forthright with these ordinance changes and development documents. Instead, I had to collect the info directly from the township planner and provide it to the group. I then received an email from another member on the Environmental Commission stating, in terms of legal issues brought to my attention by John Fairmosca, please refrain from any actions that you are undertaking regarding this ordinance. This email was vague and confusing. Is that my time?
Mark Morisano, Whippany. I'm relinquishing my time.
One second, Mark.
Chris, take 2 more minutes.
It's okay, I think he yielded me
You sure? Sorry, Mark.
Thank you.
No, there's no yielding of time.
Typically, our planning board has a member of the Environmental Commission present on it, and our Township Code 166-5 creates a special carve-out for this member to have voting rights. It's a way to ensure that the environment is represented in matters of planning. I regret to inform this body that when member Nadia Mian served on the planning board for 1 year, she was erroneously not given any voting rights in conflict with this code. In 2024, though, the Environmental Commission was represented on the planning board by member Phil Glowy, a Class 4 voting member. However, Mr. Glowy was removed from the planning board in the January 9th, 2025 meeting and replaced by a person who is not on the Environmental Commission, leaving us with no representation. Phil Glowy's term extends until 2027. I asked in the last township meeting if Mr. Glowy was removed for cause, and the response was no. I asked if anyone had this resignation letter, and the response was no. I filed an OPA request to obtain this resignation letter, but one was not produced, only a letter from Committeeman Fairmosca saying, "This is to confirm that member Phil Glowy has resigned from the planning board, given that we have a replacement for him on the board." The lack of an Environmental Commission member on the planning board through all of 2025 was a contributing factor to the environmental advisors not receiving any information about the Bayer tree situation or proposed ordinance 20-2025, which required prior planning board approval. Now, I am sure that this is all just a series of chronologically convenient coincidences. But in response to learning all of this, the Green Team called a special meeting this past Monday, which also was attended by the Township Planner and the Mayor. At this meeting, we discussed the issues with the current tree ordinance, the issues with the proposed amendment, and its relation to the recently approved site plan at Bayer submitted by JMF Property Group LLC. The numbers were reviewed. What it showed was under the current tree ordinance, doing calculations, an estimated 2,355 trees would be owed into our tree fund at the price of $400 each, yielding a total tree replacement fee of $942,000. Under the proposed new ordinance 20-2025, that would reduce to 591 trees being owed into the fund times $400 for a total fee of $236,400 approximately. This yields a savings for the developer of $705,600 approximately. After reviewing the online video of the June 12th Township Committee meeting and in discussion with the planner in the special Green Team meeting, the arguments being proposed to support ordinance number 2025 are listed here along with our counter arguments. Argument 1. Township Engineer Macera stated, when dealing with affordable housing, there are legal concerns that you can offset some of that cost associated with those developments. Attorney Semrau stated, there have been some cases that say you have to have a reasonable relationship to the cost that you're collecting,
or you need to have some caps on the amount that you can collect on tree removal before it becomes excessive. Government can't charge whatever it wants. We have to take a look at this to ensure it's in line with the case law. The argument of reducing tree replacement costs was reiterated by the Township Planner and Committeeman Ferry Mosca in July 7th meeting this past Monday. Included in this argument was the threat that our township will incur a lawsuit by this specific builder over this specific site, and our tree ordinance will be invalidated, and all previously collected fees would have to be returned to all previous developers in township's history. Our advisory response to this argument is that we start by saying this argument holds no water. The references to reducing costs to comply with the 2024 NJ Fair Housing Act are a stretch. This new law contains zero mention of the word tree or tree ordinance. I spent a weekend reading it. It offers no legal requirements to do away with tree replacement fees at all. There is one paragraph that recommends townships remove unnecessary housing cost-generating features, but we
Christina Morisano, Hanover, turning my time over to Chris.
Chris, how much more time do you have? Because
till the end. We're almost there. I'll read faster.
What?
There's one paragraph that recommends townships remove unnecessary housing cost-sharing features, but we firmly state that the tree replacement fees are not unnecessary. This township is currently involved in a lawsuit with the state, and one of the pieces of evidence being used to support us is the Green Team memo from September of last year on the effects of housing and the impacts it causes on our local environment. We state that trees are essential to maintaining a healthy and happy population. Mature trees each absorb 100 gallons of water after storms. They filter the air. They provide natural habitats for wildlife. They absorb and contain CO2. They shield the ground layer of the planet from excessive heat and are proven to relate directly to the mental health of humans. We argue that maintaining the overall tree canopy of the township is both necessary and critical. Furthermore, the Green Team requested all case law that Attorney Semrau used to justify this statement. At this time, none has been provided to me. Conducting our own case law research, we discovered that a 2009 case, New Jersey Shore Builders versus Jackson Township, upheld the legality of tree replacement fees by the New Jersey Supreme Court. That is relevant to us. In this decision, the court decided that tree replacement fees are legal so long as they reflect the actual cost to replace a tree. Also, 2022 case, Monmouth Commerce Center versus Howell Township, yielded a similar decision. These ordinances have been proven to not constitute government overreach because they do not outright bar individuals from developing their private property, but do require them to contribute to a public fund which will be used to maintain the overall township natural environment. There is advice in here about specific dollar amounts. I'm going to skip it. We feel that New Jersey case law currently upholds our tree ordinance as it stands. We believe, should a legal case occur, any competent attorney could prevail for the township. The township's recommendation on reducing tree replacement fees to avoid a potential lawsuit amounts to caving to a developer by paying them with our tree replacement money. Lastly, the most dangerous course of action would be to cripple our existing tree ordinance with this proposed change, because it then opens the door for all land developers to claim that they were overcharged in all previous redevelopment plans. We also hope nobody has been so irresponsible to have awarded tree replacement waivers to developers without just cause, because that would put our entire escrow fund into jeopardy. Not done, sorry. I'm just breathing. In the July 7th, argument 2, in the July 7th meeting, Township Planner and Committeeman Ferry Mosca shared that the developer of the Bear site called the tree fee ridiculous because the total amount is approximately $942,000. It was stated that this will be the largest single payment of tree fees in Hanover's history and therefore is too high. It needs to be adjusted to a more reasonable amount. Our advisory response: if the current tree ordinance creates a large fee due to a proposed development, this does not automatically qualify as ridiculous. Rather, we argue it reflects the fact that this will be the largest quantifiable destruction of a forested area in the history of Hanover and thus has a correspondingly large cost to maintain our overall tree canopy. Simplified, large-scale deforestation comes with large costs to reforest. Further, this developer has a history of building here and is well aware of this tree replacement fee. The township has a record of the tree fund dating back several decades. We've requested oversight to this account but have not received it. The former mayor and author of the original tree ordinance, Len Fariello, was able to provide some historical transactions for context. In 2008, right across the street, Hanover Renaissance condo complex was built along Route 10. Tree replacement fee was $521,000. If you convert that money into today's dollars, that's $778,000. We're not that far away from the cost at the Bayer site. So I'm going to jump to our advisory recommendations. Number one is to vote no on ordinance 20-2025 whenever you decide to vote on it. Because no case law has been provided by the attorney to justify the change, no comparisons of neighboring towns have been done at this time. Our current tree ordinance has been legally generating replacement fees for 20 years. Changing this ordinance today means that you agree with the developer that the fees are ridiculous, which would invalidate all the previous collected tree fund revenue, causing the township to possibly owe millions of dollars to land developers and homeowners. And the justification for changing the calculation from the overall lot size to the area of disturbance is arbitrary. It's an admitted shot in the dark to appease a builder and backed by no history. Our second point is to utilize the arborist and create an actual tree count for the 7.26 acres of disturbed woodlands. This will remove the guesswork and accurately reflect what needs to be replaced. You can subtract ash trees, dead or diseased trees, and invasive species from the sample and only count the healthy native species. That, we feel, is fair to anyone who wants to develop in the town. And we feel like we shouldn't sample the wetland area, but the actual piece being developed. Third is to offer no waivers of the tree fees to any developers unless justifiable reason is presented, like the development is for nonprofit or it contains affordable housing as part of the deal. An example, if this site for Bayer contains 20% affordable housing, offer a 20% discount in the tree fee. Example, $942,000 gets reduced to $753,000. It's 80% of the total. That we feel is reasonable. We feel there's no reason to give a developer our township tree replacement money on sites that hold market-rate apartments, hotels, retail stores, and other commercial sites that generate healthy revenue. Our fourth point, when comparing our fees of 400 other surrounding towns, we feel it is justifiable and reasonable. Our fifth point is to grant the Environmental Commission oversight of the tree fund escrow account. This advisory team should have the ability to monitor the revenues and should also have the ability to veto inappropriate expenditures. Sixth, continue to collect tree fund replacement fees and utilize this money to purchase vacant land. Convert this land into forested property and introduce it to the ROSI, the Recreation Open Space Inventory known as Green Acres. All land put into this program is then removed from the vacant land used for affordable housing calculations and thereby reduces our township's obligation. And that is the end of the advice, and I'm going to close with two questions for Attorney Semrau. Will the entire Bayer site plan be nullified or possibly canceled if the tree fees are not reduced?
And Chris, what's your second question?
If this site is being approved for affordable housing mandates and special ordinances are being written for this one developer, I must ask, how many affordable housing units has this one developer brought into the market in Hanover Township at this point in time at all other sites?
Fred, we're going to try to keep on our rhythm going, but if you want to hit those two questions real quick, I'd appreciate it.
I don't know about the second one. I don't follow the question.
The first question again, Chris?
The first one is the Bayer plan on its whole contingent upon 20-2025 being approved or not?
No, the Bayer plan is not contingent on this ordinance being approved. There's no understanding that that would be the case. As a matter of fact, I stated at a public meeting right here last month that the Bayer redevelopment agreement in itself, I was very upset because in the agreement, they wanted the tree fee waived. And this governing body said no. And they actually brought the agreement over to the administrator's office to get it signed with it waived. And we intercepted it. So there is no deal, and there's no waiver, and there was no agreement that it would be changed. Thank you.
Okay. Chris, before we conclude your portion, John, would you like to address any of the points that Chris made?
Sure. Yeah, first of all, I thank Chris, I thank the members of the Green Team, of which I'm a member of since the year 2010, along with other founding members who are in this room Phil Glaui, who also served for a long period of time on our planning board, and Mayor Gallagher. And the person who is the fourth member is Ann Kranick, who still serves involving the Green Team, so she does a great job. I don't doubt the veracity of the statements, the work that was done. I think it's a fine body of work, but I also am very much one who believes in accurate, factual communication of information. When you disseminate information in public, it should be supported with facts, as opposed to innuendo. For example, I'm going to ask the attorney, I'm going to ask Mr. Branchow, did I participate in meetings with the developer, the attorney, as well as the planner regarding said amendment to the tree ordinance?
No, not at all. And there weren't any meetings with the developer with respect to the tree ordinance.
Yeah. So just want to clarify for the record in terms of reality, fact versus fiction. In terms of argument number one, we talk about a paragraph submission of issuance of a threat. There were no threats made. I spent 3 hours in that room with the mayor. I spent 3 hours in the room with our planner, just trying to give advisory of risk. That's what was presented. So in terms of communication of information, if we're going to communicate, let's get it right. In terms of argument number one, paragraph 5, an insinuation that our attorney lacks competency, I think this governing body has significant confidence in our attorney and has done a great job helping us throughout. So I believe he is highly competent. Argument number 2, in terms of the accusation, in terms of quoting me as saying tree fee ridiculous. I did not say tree fee ridiculous. So let's get that right. Another issue that was brought up in your discussion was the mention of a member of the planning board. I'm not going to get into personal reasons for that member of the planning board leaving the planning board, but that was a personal decision, and it's going to be left that way because I don't talk personnel in a room. It's not fair to the individual. I have too much respect to anybody who serves on our boards. I value it. They do great jobs. I think you do a great job. But we just need to move forward with factual information so that we get it right. We have decided to move this off until our August meeting. This will allow us time for us to evaluate the recommendations that are being put forward, and hopefully that this will help optimize the work that we're doing. That concludes my commentary.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I did not insult the attorney. I think he does a fine job. I'm just saying any competent attorney could win that case. That's all that means. The quote "ridiculous" was from the township planner. I wrote that in my notes, so I know that that word was specifically used. And in reference to participating in discussions, that is a general reference to discussions on the Bayer site plan and everything involved within it, and the assumption is that the Director of Planning would be involved in the discussions of the Bayer site plan and everything within it. Thank you.
Just to comment, the ridiculous was stated by the developer.
That is correct. That is a quote from the developer. We were told, called it ridiculous. And my argument is that it's not actually ridiculous. And the other thing was the threat that was referred to. I was told that the developer was threatening to sue our township if we didn't approve this tree fund change. That's the threat I'm referring to. All of these things are coming from the developer. To clarify, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard?
Hi, Laura Koch, Cedar Knolls. Regarding the tree ordinance, or the proposed changes to the tree ordinance 2025, I just have a question. I'm trying to understand it better. Is the purpose to incentivize builders who would help the town meet their quota of affordable housing?
That's your question?
Mm-hmm.
Fred?
I think the purpose is to revisit that ordinance because of the fact of the relationship of whatever the fees are that are charged just throughout the township versus what you're permitted to really charge. You have to have you can't necessarily, so to speak, profit on a fee that's charged as a governmental entity. It has to have a reasonable relationship to what you're charging, as opposed to a tax, right? Government can just say, this is the tax. Nobody has to say, well, is that really fair? But when it's a fee like that, you have to make sure that it warrants, or it's because it incurs a cost to the township. So, I mean, for all intents and purposes, if the fees were not covering the township's cost, you could increase it. If it is excessive to the township cost, you may have to look at it in any type of fee situation where you have to reduce it. And I just give an example along those ways. There's a number of towns, the state legislature, about 5 years ago, said for abandoned properties, you can charge, they said you can charge up to $500 for vacant lots. And the statute said that. Towns did that. They did it very aggressively. And then there's right now, I think, 10 class action suits saying, prove to us that these are your costs. And this is what your costs are. So you have to, I'm just saying, just as local government, we have to make sure that the costs have a correspond to the actual fees that are collected. So that's really what I think a lot of the focus is here. That's part of the heart of this, to make sure that the fees they match what the costs are to the township. And I'm not going to say here publicly whether we think they do or not, because I wouldn't want to give anybody, that right to try to challenge it. But you're asking the question, that's what it was about.
Okay, so will the ordinance 2025, the ordinance that you're proposing, reduce builders' costs when it comes to replacing trees or giving money to the town in lieu of trees?
The way it's proposed,
Is it just a yes or no?
It would depend on the actual project. For certain projects, the answer would be yes. For other projects, the answer would be no.
It was my understanding that builders who build in the town and provide affordable housing will be able to reduce the tree requirement that they owe Hanover. Is that correct?
In the proposed ordinance, that I think would be correct.
Okay, because as I understand it, according to the Mount Laurel Doctrine and Builder's Remedy, builders are already highly incentivized to build. They are building one affordable housing unit, and also for that single unit, they are also permitted to build 4 fair price housing units. So builders are already highly incentivized to build in this town, and as we know, market values are soaring and building is quite lucrative. So it's my opinion, my husband Joseph Koch's opinion, and the opinion of most people in Hanover that builders are already sufficiently incentivized, overly incentivized, and a tree ordinance that helps, as Chris and the Green Team so clearly stated, helps in innumerable ways that students in this town could elaborate on. We do not stand by and agree with any change to this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Claire Matlin, Whippany, and I am a member of the Environmental Commission and the Green Team, so I'm familiar with everything that's going on here. And I would just like to address that the $400 fee that is in our ordinance currently has been there for many years. And we have discussed as recently as this last meeting that in order to replace a tree, You have a certain caliper tree, certain cost with it. So the $400 covers the tree, the preparation for the planting of that tree and the maintenance of that tree for the first 2 years so that it will actually live. So I don't think it is an unreasonable amount, and it's something that's been in the ordinance, and if a builder is going to build here, he should be reading ordinances and know that ahead of time. Thank you.
And I don't think the ordinance changes that, right, please? The 400?
Correct.
It stays the same, because one thing we did, I agree with exactly what you said. That's the cost, and that's the charge, and that's not being proposed to be amended. And I just want to say for the record, it doesn't mean the governing body is going to approve this anyway. But to your point, Claire, that's accurate, and that number wasn't even proposed to be changed. But for the reasons you stated.
Anyone else?
I give you 60 seconds. Mark Amorisano, Whippany. Just a couple things. Fred, you had mentioned, proving how much it costs for a tree. A full adult tree, because we've moved them before, is tens of thousands of dollars for one tree to move from one place to replace it. 400 is actually very low nowadays to replace a tree. I mean, it's actually ridiculously low. Also, Chris asked how many of the low-income homes were built that this developer was asked to do. The answer is 0. I'm sure we all know that. So this person continually fails in any of their promises to this town, and I believe that failure should result in you guys being much more tough on what we do here. Please, thank you.
Oh, wait, okay. You got to be very quick, though, because we have a lot of
We're
people want to
talking,
speak.
sorry, this, Claire Matlin, Whippany. One of the other things is, we have this affordable housing. We all know that affordable housing is hard to come by, so now we're going to allow less trees because it's affordable housing. What about all the deserts of Newark and everything else where the heat just radiates? So we're going to say it's okay because it's affordable housing. We should almost be doing the opposite if you're going to talk about helping out people that can't afford it. You want to come from Newark to here and then have no trees here as well? Not a good idea.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Poor guy. 6 times.
Hi, Judy Irati, Hanover Township. And I was actually around when the tree ordinance was first put into law in Hanover Township. And the original intent of it was to discourage developers from cutting down unnecessary trees or clear cutting a piece of property. So it wasn't to get funds or money or anything like this. It was to discourage the cutting of unnecessary trees. So ideally, if they would cut down one tree, another tree would be replaced. If they needed to cut down trees, another tree would be replaced in town. So you're not losing any of that oxygen in the air and everything like that. Over the years, I guess it's better financially for the developer to clear cut a piece of property. So in doing so, you're cutting down a lot of trees. And I have a beautiful ash tree, 2 beautiful ash trees on my property that are not dead, and I don't intend for them to be dead. Anyway, it's a side thing. This tree ordinance, it's been in place for a long time, and the justification that Fred was saying about covering the costs, if you had to go to court, yeah, it's going to cover the cost. $400 is very reasonable to plant a tree in town. So again, the intent of this ordinance was to try to have the developer not cut down unnecessary trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Sir? We got the path cleared for you now.
Ioannis Argarillo, 2 Lexington Court, Whippany. I don't know how much I can expound on the distaste that the public has for this entire project. One of my concerns was the council's due diligence on the figures that the developer was giving. And whilst I haven't had time to go through everything. One of the main things that basically stands out was a project that they wanted to put the hotel up. And I don't know whether you guys have done your due diligence on it, okay? But within a 5-mile radius, we've got 50 hotels. If you go to 10 miles, that triples, okay? Now, you, sir, were stating that you deal in facts. The builder was dealing in facts that he wants to make work for his project, okay? If you go to STR or Hotelligence to look at occupancies in this area, okay, you'll find that the hotels, they actually plan and budget for 60 to 70% occupancy, okay? And that's between September, November, and April and June, which is their busiest. On the off shot, okay, now I've done my research and I've gone to these research reports, okay? On the off shot, a hotel may be at 100% capacity. And even if they do, and they have people coming over, there's enough hotels in the area for a spillover. As a matter of fact, the hotels do deals with each other, okay, where they send their customers to the other places, okay? Their lowest time is between December and March. Now, the member of the building council isn't here, that I guess he and I had heated discussion on in the previous meeting, and that was that if the property's sold to the developer, this town cannot tell the developer what to do with it. Well, that's true, okay? What happens if this guy puts up a hotel, doesn't find a buyer for it? What's it going to turn into? That's basically another issue. But it's a systemic problem that's going on, and it's a systemic problem that I'm hearing from everybody who's come up to this podium based on this entire project. So how much facts do you guys actually look at? Do you guys do your due diligence? And I'm really sorry Mr. Byrne isn't here, as he's the adjunct professor at Seton Hall for finance. I want to know whether they do due diligence at Seton Hall. Do you guys do your due diligence?
John, you want to take this?
I think that we have a responsibility as a planning board, I'll speak from the planning board standpoint.
Yeah, please.
To listen to applicants come in, to present what they envision that they are trying to accomplish, but we don't have an investment in what they're doing. Hanover doesn't have an investment in terms of the capital structure. So if they come in and they present to the planning board and it meets the township codes, or it's adjusted by them to meet the township codes, then they get an approval. They get an approval to move forward. Now, the approval to move forward would allow them to come in and to build. And it's their responsibility. We can't get involved in terms of telling them how to market their hotel. We can't get involved in that. That's not germane to the responsibility of the planning board.
I get that, but there's another side to this also. Is what they're doing necessary for the town?
John, I asked John to take it because you addressed John a minute ago, and I wanted to see if John wanted to, but I'll tell you another answer about the hotels. Is I went to a seminar about planning and good planning and trends and the importance of certain types of hotels. And your statistics are pretty interesting, and I'd like to get them from you, and I'd like to get the
You can look them up. It's in Hotelligence and SDR.
We just went to a seminar, and they said that, just like in Florham Park, a lot of these hotels are really happening. We have a lot of headquarters around here. We have a growing population around here. And like John said, when a company comes in and buys a piece of property, and they propose specific uses on that property, they did their due diligence, share it with us, but what we have to do is appropriate that land for that use, But as far as the business models, they do always change. Like, look at office buildings today. In the 80s, everybody built office buildings because they were so important, investors were buying and selling them all over the place. But right now, they're vacant. So everything changes, but for right now, snapshot, the information that I saw is that a lot of these hotels are doing very well, they're in demand, but will that be the same in 7 or 8 years from now? I have no idea. But they're the ones making the investment, they're the ones that want to develop it, and they're the ones that came in and we approved it for that specific piece of property.
Mayor, my question to you again is this development necessary for this town? Is it?
Well, I'll go back to what I said when we first discussed this property is 85 acres. And I live about 1.5 miles away from it. Do I want it to be developed? No. Is it going to be developed? Yes. The only controls we have is to develop it the best we can for Hanover Township within the parameters of our oversight. And that's why the timing was very important. Because we're talking about fair share housing, we're talking about round 4, no obligation. Although this didn't come in as an intervener, we believe we did the best we can, because if they did come in as an intervener, the real number is 1,365. So with the amount of housing on there, 400 units, including our 20% set aside for fair share, we do have some very good ratables, and Hanover Township really needs their ratables. We didn't pick and choose what was going to go in there, but we tried to control what was going to go in there the best we can and try to make it so it wasn't 1,365 houses, because 400 housing units versus 1,365 puts an incredible stress and strain on our municipality in every area. School, water, police, sewer, I can go through the whole list. So is this the best we could have done with it? Yes. Is the investment from the developer, we can't say, hey, you know what, we don't think the hotel's going to succeed. They're investing in it, supposedly they have somebody that wants to run it, and there are statistics to say this type of hotel will do very well for a certain period of time. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Sort of, because what I'm looking at, or any analysis that I'm looking at versus what you're looking at, is at opposite ends of the spectrum.
Well, we have to move on, but I'd like to talk to you offline, if I would like to get your number.
My door's always open.
Say your address again?
I said my door is always
Well, what's your
open.
address again? I'll come to your house.
2 Lexington Court.
I'll be there.
Okay, I can give you my phone number, we can go out to lunch if you want.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else?
Michael Chuknitsky, 57 Oak Boulevard. I have lived in town now 15 years. Teresa Swallow's family has been here for 150 years. I can only talk about the history that I know of. I see, just in 15 years, that our property lost a bunch of elm trees for Dutch elm disease. And then we lost a whole bunch of trees because of some beautiful bug called the emerald ash borer. And as I understand it, this is like a regional infestation that lots of trees died. So I am concerned that in general, when you lose tens or hundreds of thousands of trees, you have less trees. If you then take a developer and say, we're going to charge you less for cutting down even more trees, that's a problem. We should not incentivize them by making it cheaper to cut down trees. So that's my 2 cents. 2 quick things. Thing number 1, there was a mention of the property, the northeast corner of Malapartis and Ridgedale. That is actually historic. We used to have one of the resting places in the Green Book. And I just learned that. So it's a historic place, and I can guess it's very quickly going to be redeveloped. And the last thing is I am always blown away, amazed, impressed at how you gentlemen deal with so many different issues, so I compliment you. Thank you all.
Can you say that again, please, sir? I will make one comment about the species of trees when we're done, but thank you.
Terry Baird, in the Whippany section of Hanover. I am shocked to come to the realization that this particular developer, the Chameleon, always uses this bait and switch with you guys. I say you guys because you're the ones in charge. We have settlement agreements that still have yet to be fulfilled. We have essentially 120 affordable senior units that have yet to be built that seem to be held hostage, and now we have different settlement agreements that make it so that he gets to build his retail and market rate things prior to the affordables, and again, we still don't have the affordables built. And now we're going to go into a deal with him again, and we're going to give him a tree. It's like getting a spiff, like he's getting like a little, a tip, an extra tip. And it's disgusting. It really is. We have settlement agreements that were originally done with him where the affordable was supposed to be built first. We have another settlement agreement with him after that, which miraculously, then he's allowed to build everything at Hanover Town Center without being whatever's going to go on at Park Avenue. Okay? So, but yet, we still don't have what we're supposed to have. We don't have our RDP. Nothing's being fulfilled. And then the person's never put an affordable unit in town yet. So who's not to say that after a while, he'll say, oh, this isn't going to work out at this place. And he's going to want to change it again. Everything gets changed again. Monarch over on Ridgedale, changed. H2 Ocean, whatever you want to call it. Changed. Makes promises. I mean, granted, Monarch was going to have a couple of affordable housing for the Medicaid beds in there, but I don't believe from everything that I've looked at that we have ever gotten an affordable housing unit from this builder. So why do you keep going into agreements with him with these false promises? So I have that. That's one of my first questions. And then I would also like an update on the HVAC system, and are our police still melting over there?
Joe, if you want, I can update on HVAC, but if you want to take it, you take it.
The compressors have been installed, and as of yesterday, they're working.
Okay, and what about the rec center with the window units that I got to experience the other night?
That is the next thing that we're working on.
Okay, and is this costing us a lot of money?
It sure is.
Money that could be better well spent somewhere else. Thank you. But yes, we're going into agreements with him and over, and we're not getting anything back. We're not getting that affordable. He's holding that affordable over our heads all the time. Oh, dangle affordables, and then he comes up.
Terry, I'm just going to address the one piece before Fred addresses the part about the affordable housing. What's interesting about the South Campus site, the Bear site, is that we put into our agreement condemnation, and not condemnation the way people look at condemnation that can hurt residents. This condemnation was put in to benefit our residents in that at any point, if this changes and it's not acceptable and we don't like it, we can shut the whole project down. That's in the contract. That's the first time that was put in any deal as long as I've been on this governing body, which is a device that we can use to help and work for Hanover Township, and that is our job, to help and work for Hanover Township residents. So that was a beautiful thing, and even every time we use the word condemnation, because it does have a bad history, I would ask Fred to explain why this condemnation will benefit us and our residents. So that, where I used to call certain developments the blob, it was approved for A and it would turn into C. That's not going to happen here because of the guidance and the recommendation of our municipal attorney, Fred Samrow. Fred, if you want to just real quick address the piece about the affordable units with these projects.
Yeah. Terry, you always read everything, and you're right about the obligations. For the project, for the 60 senior units, they have to be built over at Park Avenue before any COs are issued for the market units. So there's no way out of that. That's not going to happen. That's in the agreement, and COs will not be issued. So we'll get those. The other 60, that was above and beyond for this round. So that location, once that's found, and the governing body's been looking at properties, I don't want to say which ones, but then the developer owes us, as a township, $1 million towards the purchase of the land, and then they're obligated to build those units. But that was above and beyond. That's not for any project. That's something the governing body at the time, Committeeman Farah and Mayor Gallagher insisted they wanted something for the future.
But we also have our obligation monetarily on that also.
Well, that's only if the purchase of the property is above $1 million, but that'll come out of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which isn't taxpayer dollars, and it would be to good use.
And that comes out of developer fees?
Yes.
Okay, which they get reduced for this particular builder, right?
They don't, if you have an affordable obligation, then you don't pay. But otherwise, I don't know of any waiver, not as long as I've been involved. And then, as the mayor said about condemnation, that's something that the governing body has changed its course, and like for the Bear extension, for what you just said, so that there wouldn't be a change. The governing body said, we want condemnation rights. We don't want to do this and then say, oh, and I'm not going to say one developers do it, right? And you're right. So that's why the condemnation stayed with the governing body, so much to the point that in the beginning of the redevelopment process, Bear didn't want it, and they threatened to challenge it. Because you can only challenge a redevelopment condemnation determination 45 days after it's after. You can't do it down the road and say, now I don't want it, I'm going to fight it. So Bear wanted it out, and then again, Bear wanted it out when the redevelopment agreement was going to be signed. I don't really understand necessarily why. I think I know, and that is because if the deal fell apart, then keep in mind, there were developers such as Avalon Bay who wanted that property. And this is just my understanding, that they were even interested with respect to Bear. And as the mayor said, if you compare the densities throughout the county, that site could have been, 3 times the amount of units, and that would be 18 units an acre. This project's 6. It's a little less than 6, I think. So there was somewhat of an incentive to say, lock that in, so that Bear didn't try to turn it into something else. And they certainly had made a lot of noise that they were going to do that. And so that's just much lower of a density. But again, now for this project, same thing, and Blaze, you could correct me, but there's a phase-in where the affordables have to be built before the entire project. Like, you can't build the rest of the project and then say, I'm not going to build the affordables right now. There's a phase in there.
That's correct. And that's true for all affordable housing developments, that there's a phasing process where you have to build the affordables along with the market rate. You can't build all the market rate and leave the affordables for last. You can't do that.
Except for Hanover Town Center, where he got to build his retail and...
He didn't build any affordables there.
Right.
That's why that was...
It was done in an off-site, which wasn't built first before the Hanover Town Center.
The settlement agreement, which Fair Share Housing Center agreed to, was that before he could build the market rate units at Hanover Town Center, he had to get a footing and foundation permit at Park Avenue. He did do that. Now, he didn't go beyond that, and that's, fair criticism there, but that he complied technically with the agreement, and it was an agreement with, not with with Hanover Township, it was with Fair Share Housing Center. So they agreed with it as well, and they're a builder's advocate, so I don't know what to say. Like you, I was, surprised that he didn't keep going, but he did comply with the agreement. We did not let him off.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry. Anyone else?
I'll just make this real quick, Judy Irati, Hanover Township. Fred. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Judy.
if the ordinance is changed, is there a possibility, I think Chris had mentioned, is there a possibility that developers who have already developed stuff in town, or even homeowners could come back and ask for relief?
No, because it would be prospective going forward,
Okay.
and there would be no decision that says it was right or wrong in the past, if
Okay,
it were
thank you.
changed.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Anthony Lasardo, Whippany. I was at the planning board meeting about a month ago where this project was discussed. One of the benefits, if you want to call it that, of the project that was pitched to all of us who were there was that the developer's going to be donating $250,000 to the town that could be used for traffic improvements, primarily along Whippany Road where traffic can, build up, especially during rush hour. We've now learned that we could be saving him over $700,000 in tree replacement costs by reducing the fee. So my question is a very simple one. I have no other way to ask it. Is the town contemplating reducing the tree removal fee in exchange for the $250,000 donation that is being made for the traffic improvements?
Mayor, there's no obligation. The governing body does not have to take any action, and nor is it obligated in any way. In a sense, one has nothing to do with the other. There's absolutely no obligation. So to answer, and I understand your question, but when I tell you that this was separate and apart as an issue, and it doesn't change anything, that commitment is locked up in the agreement, and one that, and it happens with developers, it was tried to be stretched a little bit against, well, if the county asked for improvements and things like that, and this governing body said, no, it's $250 for the township. Further, this is, and I'm not saying it against any particular developer to get myself, sort of entangled with it, but in this case, it was, well, but if the planning board asked for it, then you're going to have to apply the $250. And again, the answer was, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't what was discussed. So the agreement says it's $250 for the township committee for traffic improvements, not, oh, yeah, well, the county asked for this, so now we have to use it. So it was protected. And to the same, this ordinance, if it's not changed, or if it's changed differently, there's no agreement, so you know.
And I think I addressed this with you at the planning board, but I live in your part of the town, and every traffic study that I've seen in 11 and a half years concludes with little or no impact to local traffic. What we did was we brought in an engineering firm to look at every one of them in the accumulative, because yours might not be causing traffic, that one might not be causing traffic, this one should be fine, but put them all together, and that's why you have a problem. And I cited a specific number that we got from Collier's Engineering, where when we're told traffic is fine, Whippany Road going towards Route 10 is prorated to make a peak hour 400 lefts on the Parsippany Road. It's currently 700. So an argument that we had to get the additional money and our partnership now with the county to make real improvement is that the Bear site isn't currently causing traffic problems. So that was an argument. It's not going to cause any traffic problems. It's bad already, but it's going to make it worse. And every development is going to make it worse. That's why we're looking at everything big picture. And we're not going to acknowledge any more of these traffic studies that say little or no impact to local traffic, because we sit in the same traffic all day long. And even with Jefferson Road, I mean, how many times do we see on Facebook how many lights people have to sit through? So we're looking at all of the above right now, and like Fred just said, there's not linkage between these two things, and as far as I'm concerned, this is a negotiation tactic. The number was A, they wanted to pay B, and as far as I'm concerned, we're working on this, and since this was introduced, that's when everybody really jumps in and does their due diligence, and a lot of people in our town have done incredible work, and I personally put forth some very serious recommendations to get to a very good number, and the ash trees were referred to before. Ash trees should be taken down before they fall down. In New Jersey, they have a do not climb. They're very, very dangerous. So I even said with this specific property, if we had a real number and an accurate survey, if there was 200 ash trees and they take them down, on any tree ordinance, those are free. So we really have to get further into the numbers and look at what is actually fair. But if you're looking at A and B, neither one of those numbers is probably going to be realistic, but our job, again, is to do our due diligence and lean on people like the Green Team and the Environmental Commission to work with us and try to come up with the best deal that we possibly can. And just like having this area condemnation, we want to take what worked in the past and build on it, and we want to discontinue what didn't work in the past.
Thank you. And then my last, it's not really a question, just a comment. I mean, obviously the tree fee is an issue. I mean, there's already a very natural, nice buffer on the north side of Eden Lane that separates where this project is going to be versus the residential houses that are right there. It seems like the logical thing would be to leave as much as that as possible, and it seems like that would be a win for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Please,
Anyone else?
that is going to stay, right? That buffer will stay, won't it?
Paul Cisco from Whippany. Where I grew up in town, in Piscataway, we're at a dead-end street, and we had a forest at the end. And we never had a water problem in our basement until they tore down the forest and put up these apartments. Then we had to put a sump pump in. So is that looked at too? The neighboring, the neighbors, how it's going to affect the water table there? Are they going to have to put sump pumps in? Does it make it more flooding? And with some of the stuff going on in the state now where they expanded the flood zone maps, would that affect that too? Now we have to, homeowners paying more for flood insurance, and that's not cheap either. So that's something else we should look at. This town's a very family orientated. You have kids that want to come back and live here. So my daughter, she couldn't afford it. But my son, he's qualified for affordable housing, and now they're not even building enough affordable housing. It's like, what happened to home rule? I know it's not, you have any control over Trenton. There's a bunch up there that just dishing it to us, and we're just taking it, and we're trying to fight as much as we can. I know you guys are working hard at that. So there's, I just wish there was more home rule. It should be that way. A small group in Trenton telling each town what to do. I think that's tyranny, and that's a problem. I say no to that 2025 ordinance. Say on August 14th. Thank you.
Paul, you nailed something that's very important to us. Is Hanover Township is a leader in flood remediation. We created the Whippany Passaic Flood Remediation Task Force right here. We were just featured in the League of Municipalities magazine on what we can do when we work together and work towards a tangible goal. New Jersey's answer for this initially was to move the flood maps, not work on our waterways. So we have to fight, once again, a ridiculous policy where people that never needed flood insurance now have to get it, so FEMA is not responsible to offset those costs to repair where they should be doing A, B, and C. So I want you to know, as far as the flooding over there in the water, we went into quite a bit of detail on where the water's going to go, the wetlands behind it. So Hanover Township, I'm proud to say, is a leader when it comes to, do we have a lot more to do? We just scratched the surface, but we have our eyes on all of that water over there because we know how one move can affect 3 different properties. Okay. And actually, policy is if you do anything to adversely affect water run onto a neighboring property, it's illegal. So we're working on that, we're watching it. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, one quick other thing. What about an ordinance to limit the amount of trees taken down? Chris said, it creates oxygen out of CO2, right? I think that's what you said. There's many benefits. In Germany, anybody gets sick, they have a forest to walk through. There's something about an energy in a forest. And now we're taking that away. We're a suburb, and they're trying to turn our suburb into a city. But, we need more trees. Call me a tree hugger. I think it's good stuff. So anything you can do to fight this, I just say no on 2025. Thank you very much. Thanks. And thanks for the good work you're doing with the flood remediation. I think you're the only one doing that in the state.
Hopefully this kind of work is going to catch on.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Christina Morisano, Hanover. Couple of things. So Whippany Road was always bad. And I think I was at a meeting once where someone said, I think it was an engineering team, it's an F intersection, it can't get any worse, so let's just leave it. We had a very bad missed opportunity when we approved MetLife on that road. we could have fixed it. We widened the road, but widening it 3 lanes for the 1 lane that everyone in town and cutting through is making a left didn't solve a problem. So it was an F, it's still an F, and it's going to continue to be an F because there's not much you can do. We missed that opportunity. Are we asking or enforcing this developer who's building on Bear to make the connection through to Algonquin? Is that even being discussed?
No, we looked at that aggressively several different times with very high-level state leaders. And again, because of New Jersey, if we were to get an approval and we were able to get the funding, in New Jersey currently, we would never be able to get through that water. We looked at going back to Algonquin. We looked at going back onto Troy Hills Road behind the diner. We looked at making the bridge wider to make a right turn lane onto Richmond Avenue.
Leave that to the developer. Put that burden on the developer. Make that part of the deal. Make that connection to Algonquin, the developer's headache, and this whole thing will go away. He won't take down the trees. He won't, it's not enticing anymore. We are turning over property, and he's going to dump it into an F intersection, and as the engineer said, it can't get any worse. But it's going to take me an hour and a half to get from one side of town to the other. Put this burden, put all of this burden on the developer. It will slow the process down, and they will do it. Trust me, I'm on the other side. I know what the developers will and will not do. Second of all, the tree issue. I work on developments way bigger than what this man is doing. We do not get a reduction in trees coming down. The checks are huge for other towns for us taking down trees. No reduction, there should be no lenience because it's so big. His developments would fit in one corner of what I'm building. Do not give up your leverage with him. Put Algonquin on the table, take the tree, don't do it. We cave to him. For some reason, somehow, he knows the buttons to push here. He's very savvy. I get it. We need to be smarter. We need to be smarter and put the burden on him. That's all.
Christine, I appreciate everything you said, but I do want you to know that we looked at that connection into Algonquin so many times, and New Jersey DEP is so dysfunctional, it will never happen. And hopefully, if we get some kind of regime change in New Jersey with people that are at least a little more reasonable, we can get some real relief. Yes.
Dina Atkinson, Cedar Knolls. I just want to say I agree with them that if you don't reduce the maximum tree replacement, it's not going to stop the developer. It hasn't stopped them in the past. It's not going to stop them in the future. So how many people here think they should vote no on 2025? So I hope you guys will really consider it. And I had a question, because I couldn't completely hear when you were talking about the condemnation of 41 Ridgedale. Does that include H2 Ocean and the 2 houses, or just H2 Ocean?
The right of condemnation, I'm not saying it was, that the governing body tonight said they're going to, but the right, which is very important, can only be preserved in a redevelopment designation. That would be for the entire property, all of those, those structures, yes, all those lots, so to speak.
Okay, and I just wanted to say thank you for Resolution 160-2025 that endorses the support of Hanover Police in participating in the move over law enforcement. So I guess they're going to be enforcing that more strictly from July 1st to September 30th, and especially with, I'm sure many of you have heard about the young man that was helping somebody, the tow truck driver that was hit. And so we really have to think, not just pull over for when you see a police car, but a tow truck or anybody broken down on the side. And thank you for doing that.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, can I just get some
If nobody else has anything, we will,
Kathy.
you
We
jump.
have our auditors here, perhaps they
Okay.
might want to make comments.
Sorry, Kathy.
Do you want to, let's just take a little break and say hello to our auditor, thank our auditor, and ask our auditor if she'd like to say a few words to Hanover Township.
A few words.
She should have went first.
So we're back. We only have a few opportunities to be in front of the mayor and the council and or committee, excuse me, and every opportunity that we have, we want to be available to you if you have any questions. So I know on the consent agenda tonight that the acceptance of the audit and the corrective action plan and all the requirements for the audit procedure were done. So we thank you for that, but we just want to let you know that if you do ever have any questions, you can communicate with administration and back to us, and it really is a pleasure to serve. So I'm going to let Brian Coe make a few comments about the audit, very brief, because obviously the mayor and committee is very happy with it.
Hi, I'm Brian Coe. I'm one of the managers on your account. I just have 4 quick highlights to go over. Your current fund balance, it did decrease by $955,000 this year. That was due to a one-time anticipation of fund balance. This is 2024, and that was used to use the fund balance to help offset any changes in taxes during the 2024 year. We also wanted to draw some attention to the reserve for tax appeals and to just keep an eye on that. Due to the high level of development in the town, the reserve should be monitored and it might be necessary to use it or increase it in the future. Your tax rate decreased slightly to 98.93%, which is perfectly acceptable. We don't want it to get too high. You did have $178,000 in tax interest that was collected during the year. If the tax collection rate goes too high, you do lose that interest. All the taxes eventually do get collected for the most part, since it's over a 2-year period, but the tax collection rate of 98.93 for this year is just for the 2024 in 2024. And then lastly, we did have 2 recommendations. One was a segregation of duties. Almost all of our towns have that recommendation. Due to budgetary constraints, it's very difficult to eliminate that recommendation. That's just the making sure that people reporting on certain parts of the finances for the town do not interact or have the right oversight on the finance departments, so that and practices. Sorry, I got a little jumbled up there. And then purchase order procedures. We just wanted to draw some attention that the purchase orders are prepared prior to the date of the receipt of goods or services. There was a couple of instances, not many, that happened, and we just wanted to draw the attention to that through the report process. And then we had 2 management suggestions. They were both about the federal and state grant receivables and then general capital grant receivables, just to keep monitoring those to make sure that everything that is receivable is collected, and if the projects were not fully completed and are not going to be fully completed, that those open receivables that are not actually receivables be monitored for cancellation. Does anybody have any questions on the audit?
And then on top of that, we just want to say that the process is always a good one. We communicate with CFO and administration. Everyone's highly cooperative, and I think they appreciate the audit. So we experience a high level of cooperation, and we just want to thank everyone that works in the building, and we want to thank you for your support too. So,
Thank you very much. Great work. And Silvio, thank you very much. You always do great work, Silvio. Thank you.
and those comments that Brian was talking about, some of them are just, housekeeping type of things. They're not serious. They're just words that we put in there to say, stay on top of them type of thing.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. I think one gentleman wanted to jump up and take one more shot.
Yeah, it's just
based on what has been said. Now, you said the township had the right to condemn the project if they didn't perform, correct?
You're talking about the Bear property?
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay. So, contrary to what a number of the residents have stated about this builder, let's make an assumption. Let's assume whatever he promises, he delivers on, okay? We've already gone through that the town cannot tell the guy what to do or tell the builder what to do with the property as long as he follows the plan that you guys approved, yeah?
Right.
Okay, so he builds the property, and let's just say he finds nobody to take the retail space, and he finds nobody to take on that hotel. And let's assume that he sells 3 of the units. What happens to everything else? So you basically have a white elephant? Or does the hotel turn into a fentanyl factory?
I think the plan for this hotel is to make it a premier hotel, and as a result of the design adjacent to MetLife and adjacent to Bear Corporate, which soon will host Tiffany there as well, and the tremendous need for conference room space, I think the hotel is one of his power plays in terms of generating income. So I don't think there's a lot of risk associated with this hotel.
Right, so you think that his hotel that he's going to put on Whippany Road is better than the Hilton or the Marriott?
I think the design component of the way it is in with Bayer and MetLife, who are desperately underutilized in terms of their ability to get to conference rooms. So I think it's going to work, and it's a high-end hotel that's going to be very attractive to the corporate centers.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
Prudential
'cause
Campus, on the other hand, as you well know, they're knocking down 5 office buildings, knocking them down, putting up residential.
And what was an interesting dynamic working with Bear and working with the developer and this team was Bear actually had quite a bit of input into what they would like on this site, which was predicated on who they thought a good developer would be to meet that need. And because of MetLife, because of Bear, because of Tiffany's, they really wanted to have a place where they can stay and even a place where some of the people can live. So there was a lot of thought that went into this.
Okay, interestingly enough, okay, your statement on conference rooms, okay, I find it highly unlikely that MetLife and Bear do not have sufficient conference rooms on their property for conferences, okay?
Have you ever been inside the Bear building?
Look, I've worked for many corporations and a lot of banks, and usually these companies, and one of my customers at one time was MetLife, okay? So, and I know damn well that MetLife has conference rooms.
The Bear building has a scarcity of conference rooms in it. The design was an open floor plan that they all bought into, and as a result of it, there are minimal conference rooms in the building. Bear, I can't...
We're planning.
I haven't been in the MetLife building, but I can tell you...
No, I'm not talking about this MetLife building. I'm talking about the original MetLife corporate. That's the only reason why I'm saying it. I find it highly unlikely, and you may know more than I do, but I find that interesting.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very
I'm gonna
much.
stop by your house.
I'm sorry?
Thank you very much. I'm going to stop by your house.
Anytime. Anytime.
I appreciate that. Anyone else? Seeing none, hearing none, motion to close.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you.
Hold on, put the timer on Fred now.
You put on me. I just want to say, you had made comments that you have some suggested changes to the ordinance, and, you know, as the process works, the ordinance was introduced. That's like something coming out of committee. That doesn't mean the governing body is necessarily going to vote for it. It's time to kick the tires, and then you have the public hearing. But because there are legal issues, there was an executive session this evening, and I hope it's okay. You can tell me to leave if it's not, but the direction was to work on significant changes.
I would like you to just go before we adjourn, go through the 5 or 6 points, and then we'll just adjourn.
But before we do that, I feel like to do that, you have a process you want to go through.
Right.
But alls I wanted to ask you is, so just, maybe you want to take a straw poll so that the public's aware what you're going to do on August 14th with respect to the ordinance. You know, doesn't mean you're bound by it, but are you in favor of going forward on the 14th, or you're not? So that if you're not, the public will have the understanding that you're not intending to move this ordinance into local law.
The ordinance the way it's currently written?
Correct.
Okay.
And then, because the instruction is to retool the ordinance at a later date, because you want to take certain steps and you want to evaluate certain things. That was my understanding.
I appreciate where you're going with this. So, John, would you approve the tree ordinance, or the amendment to the tree ordinance, the way it is currently written? Yes or no?
No.
Ron?
No.
Mike?
No.
Brian?
No.
Nor would I. So that's where we stand right now.
So on the 14th, that would just be perfunctory. That's not going to go forward, that ordinance.
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
so at least the public's aware, and I know that I was given direction tonight, and so was Blaze, to look at certain issues and take a look at it, and then bring it back after it goes through a certain process.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
And we appreciate everybody's due diligence, and like I said, there's 5 or 6 items that we're going to solidify, and when we're prepared, we'll be happy to share them with the public.
Just one more comment. On all of the stuff that's come out tonight, 99% of what we've been talking about comes down to one thing: low and moderate housing, the fair share housing. Just about everything we talked about the problems stem from that. You come, you yell at us, we get it. November, you've got a choice. Make the right choice. That's where you got to look. Which governor is going to make the decision to put this back in its place? Not saying there's no place for it, but it's taken over. It's become an economic engine that is funded by lawyers, by builders, and they're using this premise of low and moderate housing to force us to build this stuff. Come November, look at who's saying what. That's all I'm going to say. Sorry.
No, and here's the trick.
You make a good point, Mike, but being a senior member of this committee, I can tell you, I go back to 1978 with Mount Laurel, when this drama all began, and we've been living with this year after year after year until this entire state is covered and socialized. So, yeah, get out there in November and make your choices. If you want to see more buildings go up, that's your opportunity to say no. We've had it. And send a message to our politicians down there in Trenton. So,
and the one candidate wants to expand it, wants it to go more.
So here's the trick to the fair share housing. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Here's the trick to the fair share housing. They call it fair share housing and affordable housing. Everybody wants affordable housing, and everybody wants a fair shot at getting good housing. But what we refer to it as is high-density housing. You're building 4 per 1, and the waiting list is so long, you're probably not going to get accommodated to benefit from the fair share. So we're looking at it as, of course, we want affordable housing. We need housing to be affordable, but this is not a good policy, it's not a good plan, and unless we get people that will listen to us and be honest with us and work for us, very little's going to change. So I think what Mike said is very important. November, everybody's smiling away, coming to your house, coming to barbecues, taking pictures with your families. Ask them where they stand on a couple big issues, because it really affects us. Anybody else have anything on that before we adjourn?
No, I think you said it very well. It's a big issue. I think the township, for those of you who aren't aware of it, was a standard bearer in a lawsuit with 30-plus other towns challenging the methodology for this round of fair share. I think the Green Team did a good job. I think Chris did a good job in terms of providing documentation that was part of that lawsuit, trying to get them to have a better appreciation of the impact of environmental and the impact of flooding from increased density. So I think we're pushing it as best we can, but our appeal is make your voices known. Vote in November based upon how you feel. Are you in support of this? Are you against it?
We're to do something a little different before we adjourn. I'm going to ask Brian Cahill to close out this meeting. Brian, you want to make any comments?
Mayor, before you do, can I say one thing?
Please.
Can I just say one thing? Just because the topic has been the trees and the Bear extension, and a little bit as being a historian about things, and we talk about, as you said, the state and what's happened and the threat of significant development to that site. This governing body, and it was John Faramasca, spent a lot of time to speak to Bear about that being a nature, I don't have the right words for it, but a nature project. And I think, we forget that a lot of time there was an investment in money and a discussion with Bear to have it as an educational center as opposed to when they wanted it to be a sports stadium and things like that, and they're pretty stubborn. But, I don't know, John, if you want to just for 2 seconds, because...
1 minute on it. We made a major appeal to Bear. We brought them a recommendation to make it a STEM facility. Science, technical, engineering, math for Morris County. We showed them, we provided a 40-page presentation on it. It went all the way to Germany in terms of the appeal was very, very strong. And the interest was very, very great. And that would have delivered a tremendous opportunity for our children, our college-age children, our children in terms of advanced degrees, in terms of being actively involved in an area that literally has 50 acres of wetland. So we were going to turn it into a STEM magnet site for overall Morris County. We talked to the universities. They were all excited about it. But unfortunately, the economics involving their situation, for those of you who know it, with Monsanto, did not lead to furthering of that. But that could have been one of the crown jewel ideas that we were presenting.
Wrap us up, Brian.
Brian, wrap us up. Take us out, Brian.
AC, you put me on the spot again like this, I'm going to flatten your tires in the parking lot next time. But no, actually, I do. I really just want to go back, and I've said this before. We truly, truly appreciate the community's input. We take it very, very seriously. In this particular case, we had already agreed that we weren't comfortable with the ordinance, and we're going to look at it and make some different decisions or make some adjustments. So I hope you believe that, because it's the truth. The truth also is, a lot of times, people will say things to the effect of we conveniently schedule meetings or we neglect to communicate things as if it's something nefarious, and it's just not. Look at us. We live in this community. We've coached our children, we've coached your children. We care about this community as much as everybody else does. What Michael said was the absolute truth. Our hand is being forced, and if we are not very, very careful, much worse can happen in this town as far as development is concerned, and it's a lot of negotiation, and unfortunately, it's a lot of executive sessions because it involves legal strategy. But there is nothing that is not above board legally and in the best interest of this town. I just felt that I had to say it because I've been to a lot of these meetings where so many times people say things and then they say, oh, I really didn't mean it that way. But you did. We're working very, very hard, and I would truly appreciate it if you'd be a little bit more careful about any accusations you might want to make, whether it's here while we're sitting on the dais or whether you're doing it on Facebook, which apparently is a lot easier than doing it here. So but I really would hope that you understand we truly, truly care about this community. I know I'm speaking for everybody on the dais. So that's my...
Brian, that was great. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Wait, no notes? Oh, my God.
No recreation talk?
Yeah, come on, I got 20 minutes of recreation we can go over.
Go ahead, we'll be in there.
Yeah, you got